Say what you will about Squall, that he's bland, that he has no personality, that he's just a edgy emo teenager, but you cannot just say that without having actually played the game. And this is what this comment makes me think, that the people that played Final Fantasy VIII didn't actually play Final Fantasy VIII. You know what I mean? Because people saying, oh, Squall didn't have no character development. Like, dude, yes, he did. I first had interest in Squall when I saw him in Kingdom Hearts, and I remember thinking, wow, that guy's got a cool design. You know, this guy's awesome. And I was just so intrigued by him based off of his design alone that I kept playing Kingdom Hearts. At this moment, I didn't know what Final Fantasy was, and it wasn't until the trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake that was shown at the E3 2019. If anyone remembers E3, oh, that was a time to be alive. Did I want to play a Final Fantasy game? So I contacted my buddy Hector and found out that there were actually 15 games at the time, which was insane, blew my mind. So I looked up what years the games came out and decided on playing the one that came out on my birth year, 1999. I'm old. And there he was on the cover of the game, and although he looked a little bit different than I remember, that was Squall Leonhart. And so I played Final Fantasy VIII, and it was fantastic. Now, obviously, Final Fantasy VIII was never going to live up to the hype of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII just blew up, right? So it had this giant responsibility of trying to recreate that magic. But even though it didn't live up to the same hype, it's still a great game. In my top 5, I've only played 3. Squall is all those things. He's serious, he's emo, he's edgy, he has basically no personality other than whatever. But that's how his story begins. He's someone who has gone through the trauma of being abandoned, and he shuts himself from the rest of the world to avoid being hurt again. It isn't until he meets Rinoa, who constantly takes cracks at Squall's shell, that he begins to change. He finds himself caring for his team. He even begins to deal with the leadership of Balamb Garden being thrusted upon him. He's around 17, by the way, and he's just been given the responsibility of leading the whole garden to war against another garden and the sorceress, all while knowing that many could die under his leadership. And he doesn't just ignore it. He takes it into his own hands to motivate everyone the best that he can. Even if it seems like a complete 180 to his character, he knows it's something he has to do. You know what Uncle Ben said about responsibility?
Responsibility?
I was going to stick with bitches, but if you want to be a virgin for the rest of your life...
This responsibility isn't something Squall wanted. It's something he needed, whether he knew it or not. The role of leader was for him. Desperate to save Rinoa on his back even, he's confused as to what he's doing, realizing that this isn't something he would normally do. Oh my god, this man is precious. This man is precious. Just the way he speaks to her, asking her questions, knowing that she can't respond, and he even confesses a secret to her. This is character development, and I'm going to prove that even further. Let's take a look at Community and Rick and Morty creator Dan Harmon's story circle. Never thought I would mention Rick and Morty and Final Fantasy VIII in the same sentence. I'm not going to go super in depth of the story circle. There's a ton of other videos that do a way better job at that. Basically, Dan's story circle goes like this. There's 8 points to which Dan Harmon says are the essential points to telling a good story. You, need, go, search, find, take, return, and change. And I'm going to talk about all of those in depth right now. Number 1, comfort zone. Squall lives in Balamb Garden, where he's comfortable where he is, mainly because he doesn't have any other option. 2, his need or desire. Now, Squall becomes a seed, and becoming seed means that they need to defeat the sorceress. That's one of the reasons why seed was created in the first place. So him becoming seed now gives him a little more purpose as to what his mission is, what he needs to do. Number 3, an unfamiliar situation. Multiple things happen to Squall here. Number 1, Rinoa brings Squall to dance with her. And while he initially doesn't want to, he eventually gives in and does dance with her, something which I'm sure he has never done before or even saw himself doing in the future. Number 2, his first mission as a member of Seed is to help the Resistance fight against Galbadia. And who is the leader of the Resistance? Renoa, so another encounter with her. Number 3, then they receive the order to assassinate Sorceress Adea. And number 4, everything up to the battle between both gardens puts Squall in an unfamiliar situation, but Sid leaving Squall in charge of the garden right before the war between both gardens inevitably leaves Squall into an unfamiliar situation. Continuing on, number 4, adapt. He needs to adapt. Left with no other choice, Squall must adapt to this new responsibility, knowing that many could die during the war. Take into account that he has only recently become a Seed member. 5. Get what they want. Squall's group eventually do battle with Adea and Cypher, defeating them both. Technically, they defeat their purpose as a Seed member, in which they are able to defeat the first sorceress that shows up. But that takes us into number 6. Pay a price. While they did defeat the sorceress, Renoa becomes possessed and falls into a coma, and this is where the majority of Squall's change happens, as he is willing to do anything to save Renoa, eventually taking them into space. And even after she is saved, she is now a sorceress, and as soon as they land on S-Star, they will have to seal her away just like they did with Sorceress Adele, meaning he will lose her twice. Number 7, return to a comfort zone. Squall rescues Renoa again with the help of his team, and this time they share a loving embrace. And the team continue on their journey to defeat Sorceress Adele and Ultimecia, which they do. And this brings us to the final cutscene of Final Fantasy VIII. Number 8, having changed. Now that they've returned to this comfort zone where they're all together, they're back at Balam Garden, something's different now. Remember how in the beginning Squall started his journey at Balam Garden, being this serious, closed off from the world teenager? Well, now they're back at Balam Garden, where everyone is shown to be happy and celebrating that they won, that they beat the sorceress. Squall and Renoa smile at each other, the two hug, and they kiss, thus completing Squall's story circle, his character development. This is character development. All this journey that Squall has been through has been leading him to this moment, to where they're back where they were, and now he's a different person. He's more open now. I mean, from that smile alone tells us everything. The embrace they share, the kiss that they share, all of this tells us that this isn't the same Squall that we had at the beginning of the game. This is a new Squall, one that I wish we had a follow-up media that shows this new version of Squall, where he's this essentially new character, new person. I wish we had something like that. If only they had made Final Fantasy VIII Part 2 or something. This is how I know that people who complain that Squall has no personality, that he's emo and doesn't care, haven't played Final Fantasy VIII, because his changes become more apparent when Renoa falls into a coma. Did they even watch the scene where he places his hand on her head saying that she feels cold? Look at the way he holds her hand, man. He even says, "I want to hear your voice," all while thinking about what he can do to help her. You cannot tell me that this is the same Squall from the beginning of the game. You just can't. He may not be the best protagonist in the Final Fantasy series. Everyone has their own opinions. You can think it's Zidane, you can think it's Cloud, you can think it's Lightning, you can think it's Noctis, but you can't sit there and say that Squall doesn't have a character arc. Man, talking about this game makes me want to play it again. I'm gonna go play Final Fantasy VIII again. It's a great game, fantastic character. Squall is my personal favorite character in the Final Fantasy series, bar none.